everybody, your favourite Uncle Frog here again, and since my last video I've been absolutely inundated with requests to explain my theories on the development of bagpipes. This inundation, I suppose, is somewhere between 231 cubic inches and maybe 10 pounds of water. For those of you who are more metric persuasion, that's what is that? 3,840 fluid scruples. And of course, everybody knows a fluid scruple is 1.1838 millilitres. And as this was a liquid inundation, it's all kind of bubbled away now. And I don't have any scruples, so I'm not going to explain to you about the bagpipes. Yes. So instead, we're going to talk about elephant fashion. Trunk hose, different kind of trunk. These are the trunk hose that I made. You can see these wonderful kind of floopy big things. There are many different types of trunk hose. These ones are specifically the Drummond Castle trunk hose. You can find these in Patterns of Fashion 3 by Janet Arnold. And if you have the, I don't know if it's the same in the black and white version as well, but if you have the colour version of the book, it's number 23. They are, what's the date line on them? 1600 to 1605, I believe. As I've said before, at heart, I am an Anglo-Saxon reenactor, and so, yeah, this was a bit of an adventure for me, and I did these before I decided to embark on the doublet adventure. So I think probably the easiest starting point is for me to put up a copy of the pattern and explain my way through that. Okay, so you can see the pattern in front of you at the moment, and if you look at it, this is just one leg, and you can see at the bottom there are all these little triangles. These are the darts, and at the top you can see the straight lines, solid straight lines and dotted straight lines with arrows pointing inwards. These are the pleats. So this set of trunk hose, they are darted in at the bottom and they are solid pleats. There's no cuts or slashes or anything like that in them. These were made for somebody who had a 46-inch waist, and the waist here is your true waist, not your hip waist. I'm a little bit smaller than that. My waist is 34 inches, and so this is the first challenge. We have to scale the pattern down horizontally, and we do that by dividing one by the other. This gives us a fraction, and depending on which way we've worked out fraction, we either divide or multiply by that fraction, and this gives us the length of each piece. We then need to make a decision if we want to scale the darts and scale the pleats, or if we want to just reduce the number, keep the same width of each one and reduce them. I scaled everything. The next thing is to work out the vertical height, and we can't do this with the main section because here this thing kind of floops over in a big puffy floopy doopity flopsy thing. And so what we have to do is we have to measure the width of the waistband, the height of the lining, and the height of the canyons. And the canyons are the funny round tubey things, cylinders that go down the bottom. Okay, I think it's probably a good idea if we come back to me now. Okay, so back to me now. Just to try and show. Oh, everything's a mess. As you can see, this kind of floops over, and there's a huge amount of material here, and so this means you can't measure this in order to get the idea of the length from your true waist down to just above your kneecap. So what you need to do is measure the waistband, the lining, and this bit, the canyon. I would recommend not scaling the waistband, but scale the lining and the canyons. when you're sewing this thing up, I mean, there is nothing in Janet Arnold to give you an idea of which order to do things in. I felt that the easiest thing to do, first of all, was to do the darts, and so I laid out the fashion side, the interlining, which is this material, and marked it all out on the interlining, not on the fashion, but on the interlining. Cut everything out, or pinned everything, cut everything out, and then basted the lining and the interlining together. The first job is to sew the darts up, and if you imagine, this is folded over, and you start at the bottom here, and you sew a line up like this. In modern dressmaking, you generally remove the excess material from the dart, but here you don't, because you want this solid material creating this kind of wonderful kind of solid concertina-y type thing. It's a lot of sewing, it's all backstitched, but this helps to form up the leg, and you can see, if you just quickly pop back to the pattern, you can see here there's this kind of oblong square that's been cut out. Come back to me again. That oblong sits in the middle because you don't want a huge amount of floop getting in the way of you walking. So the dart's relatively straightforward. The next thing is to make up the pleats, and of course a pleat looks like this, and the pleat is formed with both the fashion side and the interlining, and again only working from the interlining side. I set the pleats as best I could in place, and I used pins to get it all correct, and once it was correct, then I basted those into position, removed the pins, and then steamed. And you use a steam iron, but you steam from the back, you steam from this side, because you don't want your fashion side ending up getting glossy, basically. At this point, you've got two separate legs which you then need to join together, and there is a, if we can see it, the seam line at the back here, this one, that also, half of one leg and half the other leg forms a pleat. That took me way too long to figure out because I'm, an idiot. Once we've done that, we've got the legs sewn up, and we need to add the canyons. Now the canyons, these are also 3 layers, and I had them turned round, so fashion side was facing fashion side, because this was the easiest way for me to do it. Attaching the canyon to the leg, you're going to find that this is like a concertina. It kind of expands and contracts, but this little bit doesn't. So pin this in place first of all, and then make sure that you average out or ease this concertina onto the canyon. And these are sewn in place fashion side to fashion side, and I also at this point attached the lining, the main lining, which is this bit here. This got attached down the bottom. When you put things together, you have to kind of scratch your head a couple of times to figure out which way round everything goes. But essentially, the lining is put on, the inner lining, the linen lining is put on like this and then folded over. If that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. So you attach it and then it folds over like that into the main body. At the top end, we have the waistband, and we have the lining, and we have all of these pleats. Now, you're going to notice, even after you've put the pleats in, that your waist is wider or longer than the waistband. And so this means we have to ease the top of this in, and we do this by, I think you can best see it here, by overlapping the pleats into one another, and that eases it into the waistband. And so then we can put the waistband, I've lost my bit of, I just keep on losing things. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. And so we have our eased pleats here, the waistband here, and we can roll the waistband over the top like that. And that means that the lining just comes straight up, and we sew through like this. We sew through waistband, we sew through the pleats, and then we sew through the lining, and we go all the way round with a nice back stitch all the way round, and then we fold the waistband over the top. Hopefully that makes sense. The lining is also slightly bigger than the waist, to give it a bit more foop inside. And you can see here I just, at a couple of points, folded it in because that was just the easiest way of doing it. Is this the thing I made a direct copy? No, there's a couple of things which are not the same. I ended up putting this waistband thing in here to hold it in place. The original doesn't seem to have that. And I didn't put the pockets in. The pockets on this are enormous, and if you read historical bits and pieces about this, it seems that they basically kept everything in there, including cats and hamsters and all kinds of things. I decided it was probably a bad idea because I'd probably leave something valuable in there, and I'm fighting in these things, and then they get hit and broken, so I didn't do that. Beyond that, it's pretty much a direct copy. It's relatively straightforward to do. Ooh, no, I forgot something. Quick ping back to the pattern. Right, have a look on the pattern. You can see there are these crosses on the pattern. This is a very important bit. Ping back to me. Hello, back again. Those crosses are very important because the pleats are really big and really heavy, and you don't want them pulling apart. And so where these crosses are, as where they found on the original, they'd sewn through from the back side, not from the front. They'd sewn through, and they were holding the pleats in place. So there's like a little knot on these crosses. Janet Arnold has only noted on the pattern where they found those crosses on the original garment. I have assumed that there are 2 crosses for every pleat in approximately the same place, and I sewed them in and held them in place. Was this a lot of sewing? Yes, I think I ended up using something like 120 meters of linen thread on this. Was it fun? Yeah, it was actually, and I've got a big pair of floopy pants. So yeah, that's it. That's Uncle Frog's war trousers. Absolutely brilliant, even if I do say so myself.
Oh my.
I think the rabbit moved. Anyway, thank you for watching, and please don't forget to play a piano, eat a banana, comment, rate, subscribe, like, all those other things. And hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye! Arse.